whenever you are ready.
Sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so my name is Tamara. I live here in Spearfish. I've been here, yeah, gosh, a long time. It's been a while, I guess. I'm from Gillette. Hold on. Is there a way to get her picture big while she's talking?
So if you
do that?
hover over her little image of where her name is,
Yes.
you could probably do that and do pin video or spotlight video. I think spotlight video
Got it.
is big.
Got it. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I am just so happy to share with you everything tonight. I've got a lot of experiences working within the hearing and the deaf world. Obviously, they mesh, they go together, they, whatever, but I have to see and work within both of them. There's a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of frustrations, a lot of anger. Let me give you an example too, that sometimes the hearing, they don't understand, and they are standoffish, and they don't even want to deal with the deaf because they don't know how. So when I went to the hospital to give birth to my daughter, I wasn't sure about what was going to happen, what it was going to look like. But I did have one experience I'll never forget at the hospital. The nurse came in. And I had the baby. I wanted to see my baby, but the nurse said that I couldn't because I couldn't hear. And I couldn't quite understand what was going on because it was my daughter and she was refusing that. So I tried to explain to the doctor what exactly was going on, and she did get reprimanded, and they did finally bring my daughter in. But when it was time to take her home, they said that I couldn't because I was deaf. And how would I hear if she was crying or needed my help? I wouldn't be able to hear. I tried to explain, I tried to figure out how to make this understandable for them, but they never did. There was no way that I was going to make her understand, but there was definitely a fight. We did get her boss involved, and she was fired from her job. And they made sure that there was training that was she did end up getting fired. There was a lot of training and different things that were going on to kind of clarify what was going, what the protocol should be. Of course, everywhere you go, there's different protocols, different interactions, different experiences and everything. But that was definitely one of my bad ones. So another story I have is my brother-in-law had passed away about a year ago. And of course, everyone, like they normally do, get to the hospital, to be with him and everything. And the hospital, of course, some of us were deaf, some of us were hearing. My brother-in-law, he wasn't able to sign because he was in bad shape, basically. He was dying. We went into the hospital. We wanted to help. We wanted to figure out how we could get him better if we could. So at one point, though, however, there came a point where communication was going okay at that point. However, my brother-in-law at some point had to get intubated and then was put out. So there was no communication that he could even help with or anybody else in there. So we were completely on our own and had no one to sign or help us through that communication. It was important, or it's very important for all first responders, firemen, policemen, all of them, for anybody that's deaf or deaf blind. I mean, that communication is so important. A couple years ago, I was in a really bad car accident. The first time it happened, so it wasn't too bad the first time. Driving along, and I got hit on the side, put me in a spin, and I was very disoriented. I did get out, and I got out of the car, and we, traded our insurance and stuff, and the police officer came and noticed that I was deaf. And people were trying to figure out what was going on, to see what had happened, maybe why I wasn't communicating, but it was just and so I have something that sits on my window that shows all of my personal information, saying that I'm deaf, but it has all my personal information. And all the people mowing around in there, I didn't want them to have access to all of that. And I don't want all those people knowing where I live, of course. Yep. And so there's a lot of times that I've got to be careful. My resources that I do have, I can't always use. But when the police officer came to my window, I tried to let him know that I was deaf. He asked about lip reading, and I can do some, but I watch more their body language and their facial expressions and try to move from that. Now, the police officer, he was trying to communicate, but there was another individual there, first responder, that did not want to have anything to do with me. He worked completely through the police officer that was willing to work with me. I didn't quite understand why he felt he was more superior, or I don't know, but I felt like there was a lot of fault in that accident to put on me, a lot of blame. And when I tried to communicate, tried to share any information, I was excused. I mean, there wasn't a lot of trying to understand completely what happened on both sides. At some point, some firemen arrived because there was glass and different stuff all over the street from the accident. And I had kind of spun around in the accident. The one woman that did hit me was very upset. She was crying. No one was really angry at her, of course, but she was still emotional. And I felt very overwhelmed because I don't know what is going on. I have no way of communicating with people. But there was this one fireman, and he saw me through the window and came up to me and he said, "Do you sign?" And I was so impressed with that. I mean, immediately I felt like I had a connection. I had somebody that was finally going to be able to listen to me and understand me. And he did. He did. He sat there and he listened, and we talked back and forth, and he asked questions. Yeah, he wasn't like a skilled signer by any means, but he could communicate with me. And he stayed with me the whole night, the whole time we were there. Yep, we went. I wish, man, we could go even like to the hospital or anything like that, that we could have someone that could sign to us. I mean, that fireman was amazing. The little bit he did was so great. And I shared that experience with the whole town. Actually, it was a city hall meeting, and I shared that experience with all of them because I felt the importance was so deep, and I needed to let everyone understand my side of the whole experience.
I
So I have
with and went
mhm.
number
I have this orange
went oh for the yeah please
oh, okay. All right. So I wear a Garmin Safe, I believe it is.
and
Like the
with
safe. Yeah, like SOS.
and
Mhm. Rescue. So it's a
man
Garmin Rescue. Okay.
the
Okay.
but
Mhm.
have to
Okay, and so I'm able to communicate through text messaging. I feel so much better because I love hiking and just going out on my own. Yep. And and I know that if something happens to me, I could text it and they could find where I'm at almost immediately. So it's amazing what they have now. They do have a lot of devices. Mhm. I have one more thing too. Uh, okay, so when there's an emergency and you call 911,
I'm
um, North Dakota actually has something for texting if you need to call 911. And I've encouraged people here in South Dakota to try to get that set up. It's like a relay, but it's set up only for emergencies. And all you have to do is text the 911 and it reaches out to them. It's pretty cool. Yeah. And then also, when the police pull you over, the police, of course, come up to your window on the side and they immediately start talking to you. But you got to let them know I'm deaf in some way. And sometimes they're like, yeah, just go ahead. I don't want to deal with it. Yeah, once in a while. But yeah, and sometimes they know a little bit of sign, so that helps. But once I was pulled over and they came over onto the other side of the car looking for my license. And I was actually a little startled at the time because I thought they wanted me out of the car. And so the signs that I was using alerted the police. He actually thought that maybe I was doing something aggressive towards him. So we have to be really careful on how we even interact or how we don't interact, and it's just presumed about how we're acting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have this book that yep. So I have this book that has all of that, your registration. And so when I roll the window down, it just goes right over it. It says I am deaf, and it has my registration, all the information that they may need. And then they're able to see, immediately I'm deaf, and then the interaction can happen. My hands are always on the steering wheel, just like this. So they know that I'm not a threat, and then they start to try to interact with me. So it's definitely a positive, again, another resource that we can use. And I think it's really an important point to understand how the deaf, how they have to think so differently. I know of stories of a man he was running, and the police, they were yelling, freeze and stop, but he couldn't hear them, and they ended up shooting him and killing him. And I mean, the death really, I mean, they really have to think about what they're doing, and I don't know. I can't speak for that because I'm not deaf, obviously, but I see what happens, and it's, for me, it's like, that's kind of a no-brainer. I know that, it's, everyone should understand that. So it's really exciting to see people that want to learn sign and learn about the deaf, their world, the culture, everything. So, because the more people know, the more that will spread, and then the whole world can understand it,
And
Yeah, and I'd like to
yes,
add to what she says.
yeah,
I've got two really great friends. She's had a lot of problems in the past. And then my other friend is a man, and he's hard of hearing. He speaks very well, but she doesn't. They both live in, yeah. And then one night something was happening. They got into their car. There was some stuff going on, and they got under this bridge, and the sirens were going off, and he wasn't able to really understand it. He could hear something at a distance. Of course, she couldn't hear anything, so she didn't know what's going on. Honestly, the people that have absolutely no hearing, I feel that they are far more paranoid, a lot more concerned, because they don't hear any of the noise around them. They have no idea what to do, which direction is coming, or anything. So when this was happening to them, she was just going crazy, screaming, and she ended up laying down on the ground, because she was just terrified, even though nothing was going on. Then there was a point when the police or the family got involved, and the police officer did end up in quite some trouble. So, but it was hard, I mean, I've lost a lot of friends, or some friends, because of misunderstandings and things that happen. So, yeah, it's important to spread the word, get it out there, let people know, and start learning and understanding. So, yeah. And me being an interpreter, I'm always doing the get an interpreter, not a signer. People will always say, oh, I know sign. And it's like, okay, but there's a difference. And if you don't mind, do you mind I kind of explain that a little bit? So an interpreter, I have my bachelor's in interpreting. I have my master's in interpreting studies. I do more than sign. There's a lot that we watch in their expressions, like the grammar is all in their face. It's in their body, and how they shift will tell me different things. And so a signer will understand words and the ABCs, and that's great, but this is my profession, and so I study it and I understand it, and it's just, it's hard sometimes because people will say, oh, I know sign. It's like, oh, that's awesome, that's great, but let me interpret. And that's completely different, Yep. And the ADA law, yes, the ADA law says that businesses, everything will provide that interpreter, a certified interpreter for the deaf. So, and I work for another company, and it's all through video relay. And I don't know if you have experience with that, but it's video relay, and the FCC is involved. I mean, it's federally funded, and it's monitored. I'm sitting here in my office right now, but I've got 3 cameras on me all the time just watching, so they know that I'm doing everything right and following those laws. It's important. And so anyway,
uh,
yeah.
so, oh,
Yep. And it's
never,
really important in the law and the court that the interpreters are skilled, very knowledgeable of those signs and of the meanings of what is being said. It's very important to have an interpreter that can do that job. Yeah, and that's a hard one. That's a hard one. You know, there was one time I went into the hospital when I was pregnant. I just couldn't sleep. I was having some issues. I was having like heartburn and different things. And I had an interpreter in there with me, and the interpreter constantly was like, you know, what's the best placement so that I could see her the best. And so she did move around the room. But the doctor wouldn't pay attention, and it would get in between me and the interpreter. They strapped my hands down so I couldn't even sign. I couldn't say, excuse me, or please move, or anything like that. And then there was several times he was just over my face. So there was no communication happening. And because my hands were strapped down, that was a little tiny bit of signing I could do, was with that one little hand. And I kept trying to see what was, you know, what was he saying, what was going to happen, what's going to go on, because they had me strapped down. How was I going to communicate? How was I going to understand any of it? So, yeah. So it's important for the interpreters to know what to do and how to work in situations like that. I did have a nurse one time put in an IV. And everything seemed fine, but until I started getting this burning in my chest, and I tried to get their attention saying I couldn't breathe, but she just kind of brushed it off. It was no big deal. And I kept trying to tell her that there was this burning and in my chest and I couldn't breathe, and she, yeah, kind of a thing. The interpreter, she started noticing that my face was red. And so then once we were able to get the nurse's attention, then she changed the medication enough. So then it relieved all my problems. But it's so important to have an interpreter with the deaf people all the time. Yep. If the interpreter leaves, then we need to have a replacement or something, but we got to make sure interpreter's in the room with us. Yeah. It's so important. So important to wait for that interpreter. Yeah. And the nurses are busy, you know, they can't ignore us and think it's okay, because it doesn't work that way. But yeah. So do you have some specific signs that you want to show them for tonight, or would you? Okay, so what do you guys have specific words that you want to know, or should we just progress?
Jordan or Caleb, is there anything you want to know? Now is definitely the time to ask if you have anything specific you'd like to know.
Not anything specific, but maybe just the things that are most often like come up for you and are important for you in an emergency situation. Like what would be really helpful if somebody knew for you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's important to notice signs for maybe doctors and nurses. Maybe if the deaf are brought in for emergencies, like an ambulance, and they don't know if they're deaf, hard of hearing, they just don't know because they're out, completely tapped out. Always check the back of the ear. So some deaf will have indicators back here. And the hearing,
Like they
oh,
do above,
yep,
about,
yep. And then sometimes, like the hearing aids will fall off, but you'll still see some indicators that there was a hearing aid on at some point. And then also check their pockets, because sometimes they'll take those hearing aids off and put them into their pockets because they don't want to lose them. Yep. And then of course, if they're, you know, just completely out, sometimes you can still hear a little bit, but the deaf can't. They're just completely out. So feel inside their hands as well, because sometimes they will just grab them and take them off, and they'll still be in their hands. Okay, so some signs that I think that may be important. Deaf, which is deaf. So she's saying, are you deaf? And so if you get that head nod, you know that you need an interpreter. So did you guys see that, the signs? Another thing you want to, or if the nurse can sign, that'd be great. Yeah. So she did, and both ways you can do deaf or deaf. Either way, deaf. Yep, can't talk. That means they can't talk. So that's why we're up here, or in the mouth, and then they can't hear. So, most deaf will use their eyes, because obviously they can't hear. So I'd like to say their eyes become their ears. So if you ask, are you deaf? Notice my eyebrows go up. That is an indicator of the yes, no question. Yep. So if you notice their faces, really pay attention to their face to see their reaction to get their answer if they're unable to sign. If they're not able to move, those expressions are going to be the most important, and their eyes. Oh, I forgot to add something here. I did work in a facility with people with disabilities a few years ago. He had no way to use hands or no communication for himself at all. He was hearing, but he struggled with communication. He couldn't sign himself. So they had me working with him off and on, different things that he needed done through the day. And I was noticing he was having a hard time controlling himself. So we would separate him. Other people needed to be a little bit of a distance so he wouldn't hurt them. But I would watch his body language. He was frustrated. Yep, he would try to communicate and try to interact, but he was getting frustrated because he couldn't. So I started interacting and asking him if there was something he wanted or what was going on, and I saw relief. I know my boss and everybody started noticing that there was communication happening between the two of us, and we were working together a little more often. It was really great. One night I had been gone, I had been sent home, and I started getting, late at night, I started getting a phone call. And I tried to ignore it, but it kept going. But when I got up, I saw there was a ton of missed calls from work. I thought, holy cow, there must have been an emergency. So I headed in immediately, and when I got there, This gentleman was out of control. He was throwing things. He was angry, but it was a simple fix. He wanted one thing, and you know what that was? He wanted a different blanket. He had one blanket that was on him, and he was too hot. He wanted a thinner blanket, and that was all. That's all I needed to do. So I did share with everybody how to watch for his body language, because he couldn't talk, he couldn't sign, he couldn't communicate. So I, you know, if I tried to show them, follow the body language. And it's important for you to watch the facial expressions, the body language. It's so important to notice and see what is going on and identify. Are they hard of hearing? Are they deaf? Some people can hear, but they can't talk. And that's tough. That's quite a challenge. But it's definitely an experience you might have. Okay, so any signs you're thinking, oh, I want to learn or know that? Okay. Oh, this is another sign. Help. It's just the hand. So this is directional. So I can help you or you can help me. So it's directional, which way? Otherwise, it's just help. Help. That's like help me, help me, help me, help me. That's help. But it's directional, what they call that. So I can help you, you can help me. All right. Okay, so you guys practice this. Come on, hands up. I help you. It depends on the person. Where's the person standing? So I can help you, I can help you. It just depends on which person you're helping. Direct it towards them. Or if they're helping me. So I help you. Okay? That person, that's who I'm helping. Yep. All right, awesome. So if I say help, 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 what do you do? What does that look like? The way, how she was signing it, what did that mean? It means like when I'm in an accident, I'm asking for help. What should you do? What should you do if you see that? Calm down. I'll help you. And then the deaf know it's okay because you've come to help. And you're coming to help me. Does that make sense? Yeah.
How do you say calm down? How'd you say the first thing?
Say that again.
You said calm down, I'll help you.
Okay. Yep. All right. Okay. So if someone's just freaking out, screaming for help, go walk up to them and tap them nicely on the shoulder to get their attention. Some do not like being touched. So, you know, you got to be careful, but it's important to get their attention visually. If you can touch them, if they allow it, but look at your face, show that concern that you want to help. Again, it's all in your face, what you're meaning to say. Okay. Once they see that, they're going to definitely calm down. Do you want to try to sign it a little bit or? Yeah. Help you. Yeah. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. Okay. So an emergency. Like, do you mean like an ambulance or it doesn't matter? So say like police, ambulance, anybody, this is an emergency. Okay, and I'll show you more signs a little later, like police officer and fireman. So if you see them and say, I'm gonna help, you can say emergencies coming. And those are your E's, like A, B, C, D, E. Shake those for emergency. And then they're coming here. This is where they're coming. Yep, just stay calm. Stay calm. It's okay. Yep, I'm here with you. They're coming. They're coming. That means so much for the deaf. They'll feel so much better. If they're blind, then what do you do? So you mean both deaf and blind, both, you mean? Yeah, yep, that's a challenge. I've had 3 experiences with that myself. So what you do, any ideas what you would do? Any? Grab the wrist. Yeah. It depends on how startled they could get. If they're really scared, you need to be very careful. So if they're deaf and they're blind and they're in a serious accident, they have no idea what's going on. Their emotions are going to be all over the place. They could even be violent. If they've got pain on top of it, that's, deaf, and those that are deaf and blind, it's a different experience. So the deaf, you can, kind of give them relief right away, but it's important to get to their palms. It's important that you're on the palm of their hands. Yep. And they will respond to that a lot quicker because they are identifying that that's how they communicate. You can put that sign help in their hand. They don't sign the same as people with the deaf. A lot of times they finger spell quite a bit like this. So they'll spell their words into their hands just like that. And that'll be deaf blind. Yep. So they will rely on the spelling. Now the deaf blind, they are in a completely different level. All of the signs, their hands have to go on top of yours, and they follow that. So, and it's fine if you do that. Yeah. I do have a story that happened to me. Yeah. I know I've had a little bit of experience with the deaf, blind. We don't have a lot of people here. I just know a few, but it's really important. I mean, her point is it's different. Don't just assume they're deaf. Okay, they're the same, because they're not. Their experiences are completely different. If you think about being blind and not hearing what's happening, but something really big just happened. I mean, I don't know if you've been in an accident, and like Tamara, her truck was like spinning out, and I mean, that would be horrible if you can't see anything, you can't hear what's happening. I mean, how terrifying. So it's important that you can, approach them careful and just calm down. But that's important, and I like that you said that point is to touch here, because that is how they communicate. So if they feel that, they know you want to communicate with them, so they will stop and try to get that communication. So that's really important. And I think, can I add just a hearing point to this too? That a lot of people that don't have experience with the deaf, they look at them as, oh, they're deaf, they're disabled, and they're not. Please, don't look at them like that, because it's a culture. It's a different group of people in the community. The deaf people are not disabled, and I know hearing people see that because it's like, yeah, they don't work right, or they don't act like me or talk like me or whatever. It's a culture. So if you can just always remember that, your respect for them will stay up. It won't drop. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, she's right. Equal. So anyway. So I had 3 experiences with deafblind. And they were completely blind. So the first one was blind and deaf and no taste. They had no idea. Like, they'd eat paper or whatever, and I'd have to get it away from them because they had no idea it wasn't even food. They had no taste. Yeah, and they learned late in life different things. People, they didn't help him. They didn't want the responsibility of teaching him. So by the time I started working with him at 18, it was really sad because we had to help teach him these simple things, and he fought quite a bit. Yeah, and he would eat everything. The second person I worked with was very emotional. It was almost like a sensory problem. If something touched them, poked them, they'd always overreact. In a book, the binding in the books, or even just a paper cut. He would get a paper cut from that book and pitch the book. And then there were times then that we would try to teach him different things, and if he didn't want to, boy, that thing would just get tossed, whatever it was. And then there were times that he would just get so frustrated, he would just run off. He would just leave. But he was deaf and blind, and he would just dead run. And so if that door was open, he would just keep running, and we'd have to chase him. And there was a fence between us and the road, and he just kept running. But we were able to get him to tackle them, basically, and got him to calm down before he even hit the road. Now, the third one was only 5 years old. And we were, we were out, and we were on a bus ride, and I was monitoring, kind of keeping track of the kids and stuff. And I'm not sure what exactly happened on the bus. We hit a bump or something, but when he lifted his seat he lifted off of his seat, and it just freaked him out. He could not understand what had happened, and of course it terrified him because he didn't know. We tried to use a 5-point seatbelt, but he did not like it. But I was trying to explain to the bus driver different things that he was doing that wasn't appropriate. He kept calling the kid that, that there was something wrong with him. But we ended up at one point with
Oh,
him sitting in front of me and my arms around him so we could sign, he was perfectly fine with that because he had the security of knowing what was going on and the communication. And other people were watching us. It was kind of crazy to see how all of it was working, but we needed him to feel better. So, and he was only 5. These were little kids we're talking. When he got up, he went to school, and when it was over, he came back and was, once he got off, then the other kids came to me wondering what was going on, and they were asking questions. And he ended up going to a very special school in New York that actually helped him quite a bit. They helped him with a cane. They can learn lip reading. He was learning how to lip read by feeling like putting his hand on their mouth, and he could lip read by feeling. So it was hard for me to see people excuse him thinking that he wasn't able to learn. But it's really important that we educate people. And I know you guys can learn and you can know what's happening. I'm so happy to help you that you guys are excited and really want to learn more about all of this and the language. It's awesome.
Can I just ask a question? Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just thinking maybe a phrase that might be good to learn is like, are you hurt? Or can you show me where you're hurt?
Okay. So if the person's hurt, okay. So say they're laying down. So if they're not able to understand, you can ask them a series of questions. But remember, look at their face, use their face. So you hurt, and if they don't understand, you can point. Show me, where is it at? Is it on your shoulder, your elbow? Where is it? They'll watch you and understand that you're asking where. Where does it hurt? Is it broke? How do you feel? That's how feel. Tell me 1 through 10. Where's your pain? 1 through 10. Where does it hurt? What is that? You know, like the doctor will ask that, right? Yeah. So, go ahead. You know, maybe it's easy, and you'll see them holding their arms, so you'll know that it's their arm that's hurt, right? Yeah. Or maybe if they're not responding, then, you know, it's kind of hard to ask that question. Yep. But they'll show you. They'll let you know. They will. If you're trying to communicate, they will try to communicate back. Yeah. And the more you learn, the better off you'll be too. So. Okay. So you hurt. So where? So show you guys practice that sign. You hurt. Yep. Where? Where? And notice the shoulders go up. You're asking a question. You're concerned. You're showing that. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Hurt where? Yeah. Make sure to show you. Yeah, not like just pointing randomly. It's important to really show it. You hurt Where's it hurt? Show your concern. It's serious. Show that you're serious, wanting to know the answer. Yep. Otherwise, if it's just like you, it's like, whatever. Yep. And if there's, they'll show you. And that was another sign. Broke. She just did. Broke. Yeah. And the sign hurt. It's like headache. Yep. It's where does it hurt? They'll show you my shoulder, my jaw, my shoulder. Yep. It hurts right there. Right there. It hurts. Yep. There's the different ways to do it. Mm-hmm. Some deaf people will say no. And that's fine. You can say, yes, show me where does it hurt? Or that is awful. Oh, it's horrible. That's serious. Yep. That's fine. Yeah, a lot of people will be like, ooh, man, it hurts. That's, ooh, holy cow, that's painful. It's awful. Yeah. Yeah. It hurt. Finish, broke. Yep. Yep. So it's different. Yep. So if the deaf are there and they're like, help over there, it's important to watch the deaf. What are they pointing to? Was it someone with them or themselves? It's important to really watch them. If they have family or somebody with them, so it's really important. Yeah. Let me think. Okay, a list. Calm down. Careful. Do you want me to call your parents, family, to let you know? So call. You want me to call? If they say mom and dad or husband, brother, whatever, I mean, it's all different. So you want me to call. Maybe they've got an ID they could give you or a card with their family's number on it or something. Mm-hmm. It's important. Whatever you're comfortable with. Mm-hmm. Make sure that they feel safe and they feel good, comfortable. They'll attach to you. They won't let you go. You're going to be their person until that interpreter arrives, because they know that there's somebody there to help.
Just sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
That we said an hour. I don't want to I want to be really respectful of your time. So I was just thinking in the last couple minutes that we have, do you have any recommendations for maybe resources that our members could use to either continue trying to learn upon ASL or to maybe understand the community a little better, so we're a little more conscious of the challenges?
Well, no, go ahead. I'm always happy to help. You just let me know what words you want, and I'll teach you those signs. That's fine with me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I do have some signs for the police, firemen. And you're more focused on medical, is that right? Yeah, are you both nurses? No. So what goals do you have? What is your profession, or where will you end up, I guess?
Well, the club itself is focused towards emergency medicine for EMTs, but I know many of our members have their sights set on things like medical school and PA.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Okay.
well.
Okay, we can work with that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I do have one book, and that class that I told you about that I teach with another deaf person. This book, I buy them, but I like give them out, and it's for emergencies. And it's just a little book. You can keep it in your pocket or whatever. And then please remember that you do have opportunities with the VI. So you can have an interpreter like on a phone, and you can communicate that way too. So always remember that. And it's, I mean, it's the law. We provide it. Like I said, FCC provides that. So it's the same thing I do at home, but it's, through the video. So the interpreter, instead of you being in two different places, you're now together, and it's an emergency. So, and I'd like to add to that too. I'm not comfortable with VI. I'm not at all. Yep, I've got some trauma with that, and I don't use it. I have two reasons why I don't, actually. Okay, so I didn't know I had arrived, and they didn't let me know if there was an interpreter or what was going to happen. I had no idea. They brought in this. There was like a line of people right behind me. I mean, a lot of people around here. And I wanted all my information to be private, but they said, no, we need to talk right now with the VI. And I did not want to do that because other people were going to hear all my information. And I tried to express to them that this is private. I didn't want other people to hear what was going to happen. I mean, this was private for me, but they would not respect that because they had the VI. Another thing that happens quite a bit, depending on the service and stuff, the signal will freeze up quite a bit. And what could be a quick visit or whatever, it could take an hour or more because that video just keeps freezing up. And it seemed like every time the nurse came in, it would freeze up. I asked for a real live interpreter, but they just wouldn't do it because they had the VI. But the picture was frozen and there was no communication happening. And, and I was not happy. I did not appreciate it at all. Now here, okay, I wanted to get an interpreter. I requested an interpreter, actually. I let them know before I arrived that I was deaf and I needed an interpreter. And they said, not a problem. And I said, okay, but I wanted an interpreter in person, in room. They said, okay, not a problem. We'll get it set up. And so I want to make sure that they know American Sign Language and everything's good. So I reluctantly went in. And they asked me when I got there if I wanted the VI, video relay interpreter. And I said, no, thank you. I didn't want it. I wanted an in-person interpreter. And, it was the nurse. She signed a little bit with me, and that was okay. But my favorite is a in-person interpreter. And I don't like it when they say, it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. We have a VI. I want to make sure that the interpreter is there, so communication is constantly flowing, that there's no miscommunication or misunderstanding. It's really important, and it's not fair to the deaf or to me if we don't have that option. And some places they'll ask, do you have a V or do you prefer VI? And I let them know, and then they will provide the interpreter. So But VI is not your favorite. I know that. It's awful. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And it happens. I've just had too many things. I want to have that interpreter there. I need to be able to communicate easily with the nurse, and otherwise there's just miscommunication. Yeah. And an in-person interpreter, it's just better. It's more comfortable, and then of course it's an individual choice. So yeah, and once you learn sign and know a lot, you'll be good to go. Yeah, I'd be so happy if my doctor knew how to sign. Oh my gosh, that would be great. Yeah. Is there a chat box I can link in where I found this book if you want? Let me see.
Yeah, down at the bottom there's a chat.
There it is. All right. And then you can search for, let me see, there we go. And that will help. And then, like I said, I buy these for the class I teach, and then they have them, they can keep them. In that class, we teach all the signs in the book. But, you know, maybe we can set up a time too here and we can teach some. Yeah. Why is this isn't going away? Hold on, I can't see you. Oh shoot. What is going on here?
Are you trying to figure out how to close a chat box?
Yes. How do I close it?
So if the chat box is
Just
open
chat?
down
Oh,
on,
there it is.
yeah, low carrot.
I got it. Can you see me now? Okay, we're good. Sorry. I couldn't see anything. This chat just kind of popped up. Okay.
Well,
So did you want to meet again, do you think? And maybe we could set up some more, you know, specific words. Maybe if you want to email some words, like a list or something. Yeah, write it, you know, how take time, write them all out, and then we could just do this again if you want. I'd be so happy if we could do that. We could just show you all those signs. That'd be great.
I definitely
Yeah.
would love that. I'm sure many of our members would too as well.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Okay. So which date, or will you just let me know?
Yeah, I can let you know. I'm trying to think about when the next meetings are. We're supposed to have an LGBTQ presentation, and then the one after that we have a mini presentation on March 30th. So if you want, we could probably do it after that one, and then we could probably add in another meeting if people really want to as well. But I can definitely keep you updated on dates.
Yeah, that would work. Tuesday. Okay. So yeah, just let us know. Yeah, let me know when it gets closer. I'm actually moving right now in that process. So yeah, I'll be in contact with you.
Okay.
All right, it was so nice to meet all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it.
And do you have name signs, she's asking?
I don't think I know what that is.
Okay. So my name sign is a T going like this. Tamara. Yeah. And why it is that is because of my hair. Used to be super long. Yep. And wavy. And I'm from California. So Tamara. Yep. Yep, and it's mainly because of my hair. So like I'm working with someone who's deaf, maybe. Maybe they need to talk to me, or they're looking for me. People will ask, can we help you? And they just do Tamra, and they know exactly who I am. Yeah, that's me. That's my sign. That's my name sign. It's your very own sign. It's yours. Yep. And deaf people will know who you are. Yep. So.
I don't have one yet, but I want to get one.
Oh, mine's Cindy. Cindy. I don't know why. I worked with children. I worked with for like 20 years. I worked with deaf children, and I have a lot of earrings. And it started out, Cindy. Did you have a question? Did you have a question?
I would love to have for free.
Yeah, there was a
name sign, but I want to get one.
Awesome. What's your favorite thing?
Oh, my favorite plant.
Maybe a hobby or.
I love plants.
And what's your name? Jordan? Yeah, that would be weird. That would be this is plant, grow, Jordan. You'll have to think about that. Yeah. Yeah, maybe the next meeting I'll think about it and I'll get one. Do you have other likes, hobbies, anything like that?
I love to travel.
Okay, all right, I'll think about that. Okay.
And chocolate. I love chocolate. Love chocolate.
Okay, all right, I'll think about that. And then Caitlin, how about you?
I have a rabbit. So.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't know. I really like medicine, like the subject. I think it's really fascinating. Actually, I just like everything.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the next meeting, I'll have one for you. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right.
Okay.
I was explaining when I worked with children, I have a lot of earrings, a lot of piercings, and it started with Cindy because of that, but I don't know, through the years it just dropped to Cindy. I don't know. I think they became lazy. Yeah. Because she talks a lot, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, that's possible. All right. Sometimes when we're like in a meeting or something, or if I have an appointment, I'll say, who's the interpreter? And they'll let me know who it is. If it's another person, I'm always like, nope, I don't want that one. Nope, I want the signs to match. Who's the other one? Do you have Cindy? Okay, I'll take Cindy. That's awesome. And I'll go to the appointment if I know who it is. Well, thank you. Sometimes on video phone, the interpreters, I'll call in and I'll wait. And I'll see who it is, and I'll be like, I don't want that one. I'll just call them myself or text them or something. But sometimes the interpreter's ready, good to go. The call goes out, and they'll answer. And once they start signing, I'll watch, and I'll be like, okay, sign that again. What? And if they keep asking me what I'm saying, I'll hang up. Yeah, forget it. Yep. And I report their numbers because the interpreters have ID numbers because we can't use our names on the video phone. So we have the ID numbers that are attached to us. Yeah. Yeah, and it's important to like the doctor, when the interpreter will arrive, we sit down, we start chatting together, and I'll be watching them, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe signing's not too bad. We'll see if they're a match. But once they start interpreting, I'll say, you know, they'll be, can you say that again? And then I want to make sure, I want to say before we go into the appointment that I get to understand their sign. Maybe they can see my signs, but I don't like it when I have to finger spell really slow. Yeah, when they're constantly, when I do it really slow signing and they still ask me, I ask them to leave because I can't do it. Yeah, I have had a lot of struggles with communication. Yeah, I don't want to be misunderstood, so I'll excuse them from the room. Yeah, and it's your right. It's your right. You should. Yep, and I feel bad when I do it, but sometimes it has to be done. So, but anyway, we should get off, and you let me know which date next and whatever. Just let me know.
Yeah, definitely will.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. It went really fast. Holy cow.
Well,
all right.
have a good
Okay, I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Have a good rest of your evening.
How do I say thank you?
Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. Good night. Good night.